Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss what is TONU and when you might be receiving one. So, you as an independent truck dispatcher sooner or later will come across a term TONU, which stands for Truck Ordered Not Used. Let's review a quick example so it is easier to understand what it is. Let's imagine that you have booked a load for your client. Your client went to pick up this particular load to the shipper, and when your client arrived there, shipper told your client that load is not ready. The product is not ready. It will not going to be ready today or tomorrow. So basically they cannot ship anything today. You are calling the broker you've been dealing with, and broker tells you, oops, sorry, yeah, I just got an email from the shipper that product is not ready and this load is not going to be shipped today. Now, obviously, your client had to drive somewhere, had to spend their time, their fuel, and should be compensated for basically their trouble of going somewhere and not being loaded. And this is the situation where you, as a dispatcher, can request a TONU. Most brokers will know what it is, and in most cases, will be willing to provide you with one. Now, from the practical standpoint, TONU looks exactly the same as a rate confirmation. Just instead of having the rate for transporting the cargo, it's going to say truck ordered not used and the amount. The average amount at this time, at the time of making this video, is about $150. Now, this amount may be sufficient, assuming your driver or your client didn't have to go too far and didn't spend too much time. If they went, 20 miles away and, it took them half an hour and then they learned that the load is not going to go, not a big deal. You get your compensation, you get the TONU and rebook your client on another load. However, if your client had to travel somewhere, let's say 200 miles away, and it took them 4 hours out of their workday, then $150 may not cut it. And in this case, you may want to consider asking this broker to provide you with more money. The amount can vary. In some cases you may be able to get $250 out of them. It really depends on the broker and on the situation, but it never hurts to ask for more money if situation kind of points you in that direction. Now, what do you do if broker doesn't want to pay a TONU? Well, there are different ways this can be approached. First and foremost, you may want to look through the broker carrier agreement that you have signed on behalf of your client and see if there are conditions of these types of situations are outlined there. If the load cancels, is broker obligated to provide you with some sort of compensation? It may also be written on the rate confirmation, so you may want to read through the small print to get a better idea if this broker owes you money or not. If they do, you may want to point this particular paragraph to the broker and say, Mr. Broker, please, here in our agreement, you must pay us compensation in this particular scenario. Again, a good quality broker is not even going to argue with you about this situation. They will just issue a TONU and send you on your way. However, as we all may know, there's a lot of not so honest brokers who will try to refuse paying you compensation. They will try to drag out the situation for as long as possible in order to avoid paying you the money. Now, one of the things you may want to do is, again, stay on the top of this broker, call them back, follow up. If they tell you they require approval of their client, just tell them, just call them back again, email them, and try to get them to commit to make that payment. Now, something to keep in mind. Obviously, for $150, even if they owe it from the legal standpoint and it's written in your broker carrier agreement, it's probably not it is not feasible to go to court or pursue any other collection avenues to collect this amount of money because it's fairly small. But what you may want to do, you may want to point out to the broker that if they're not willing to pay this amount, it's not fair, and you will go ahead and outline this situation and post it as a review on load boards or on Google or somewhere else. And in some cases, brokers that somewhat care about their reputation will say, okay, well, let's resolve this. Some of them will not care, and as you may discover, they already have horrible reviews. But again, that's the situation. Your job is to try to get the TONU so your client can bill it and get compensated for already the work that they have done. Now, with that being said, let's point out a few situations where your client is not entitled to a TONU. So, for example, your client goes to the shipper to pick up a load and he's late. His appointment is 2 p.m. and he arrives at 2:30 p.m. and shipper refuses to load him and tell him that the appointment will have to be rescheduled for another day, and so on and so on. Now, you can call the broker and tell them that your truck is not being loaded, but it is your driver or your client's fault, and you will not be entitled for, receiving this compensation. Another example may be if your client arrives at the shipper and shipper refuses their equipment. Let's say their trailer is dirty, or there are holes in the trailer, and the product which needs to be shipped, it wouldn't be acceptable, and they just refuse to load this type of trailer. Again, your client might have traveled somewhere to pick up this load. They may have wasted their time, but condition of their equipment is not meeting the standards, and it is kind of your client's fault. So again, broker may rightfully refuse paying compensation in this situation. So hopefully this video explains to you what TONU is and when you may or may not be getting one. And with all that being said, we are going to wrap up this video, and I will see you next time.